This is what I'm going to show you how to do today. Enjoy. This tutorial is more for myself than it is for you, but if there's something you can learn from it, great. There's a bunch of things I'm doing in this, so I'm not exactly sure how to title this. But I'm going to show how to import an animated GIF file into After Effects and retain its animation. Also how to retain its alpha channel that it originally comes with. How to then take that animated GIF file and loop its animation indefinitely, and then how to then link that GIF file onto another image file and have it animate have it move along with that other file. So in this case, I have a blank computer screen or a series of blank tablet, phone, computer screen, monitor, and I have a waiting animation for the little loop circle cycle thing that happens when you're waiting for something to load, like on YouTube, for example. And I want to slide the computer screen in and have the little waiting loop thing move in and loop with the moving in computer screen. So probably a butcher of a way to explain that all, and I might butcher through this, but here we go. I just kind of figured out how to do some of these things. So first I have the main comp one. There we go. First I have these computer monitors and stuff. You just press S when you've got a layer highlighted to get scale, and then you just scale it down to where you want it. That looks about right to me. And then I have this wait icon, and this is the animated GIF file, and it just is as is. I just import it right in here, and then you just put it here. You don't need to put it in Photoshop or mess with it or anything like that. Again, I'm going to scale this up, and as it stands, this will animate. As you can see, as I'm moving through here, it will animate. Now, the first thing we want to do is we want to be able to loop its animation. So in order to do that, you want to right click on the little byte, the little bit of the layer there, and go to time, right click on it, go to time, and choose enable time remapping. Now this will put 2 keyframes on either side of it. For the time being, I'm just going to say this keyframe at the end is going to be problematic because it will cause a blank frame in between each loop. So it will blip in and out. We don't want that. But first, we need to add an expression to this. So you hold the Option key down and you click on the little keyframe thing here. And this will open us up to being able to add an expression. And all you do here is click on this expression language menu and then go down to property and then choose loop out. Cycle number of keyframes. That's how many times you want it to cycle, I'm assuming. Now let me just chill right there with it. Click outside of it, and there. The loop is on. Now, you'll see that it's still, even though I passed through here, it's not looping. That's because this here needs to be drawn out so that it will stay visible, so we can see the loop as it's looping. And there we have our nice little loop. But as I understand it, oops. Actually, that is looping quite fine. From what I understood from what I just recently learned, you're supposed to take that a lot of times this keyframe will cause it to disappear for a keyframe, but it looks like that's not really the case right now. But I'm just for good measure going to move that over 1. You're supposed to move it over 1 keyframe. Looks good to me. Looks great. But yeah, for the record, what I did just there was you have it was over here, and all I did was I just zoomed in, and you hold shift and it will lock onto that keyframe, and then you don't hold down Command and press the left arrow. You go back. That takes you back one keyframe. Now just add a keyframe here, and then you can go back to this one. Just delete it. But it didn't look like that was a problem, a frame being dropped here. Either way, now we have a successfully looped GIF file. Now let me make sure it's looping correctly. Yes, 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 yes. Looks good. Looks good. It does look like it's got a little bit of a... Oh, it looks good. Looks good. So, now, the next thing we have to do is we have to get rid of this nasty white background that it retained when I imported it in, which is making the computer in the background invisible because it's a big block. What you do for this is you go to Mode and you choose, for white, it's Multiply, like so. And there now you can see it's the white transparent is gone. Had it been black, you would choose, I think it's Screen, I believe. But for our purposes, it's Multiply because it's white. Now, what we also want is we want this computer to slide into view, and we want this little weighting thing to be over here on the tablet. So there's a couple things we have to do there with that. We want to create a null object. Excuse me, that was totally rude. I just burped. And the null object is going to be, it's going to be the thing that we lock everything into. It's going to move for us and everything else is just going to follow it. So we want to start the null object off in the distance. You can hold shift to keep it straight. Oops, that's not what I want. I don't want to hold that one. The null object is what I want. Alright, I'll just move the position manually. Let's take it over here. So there's the null object over there, and I want the null object to, I'm just going to actually first go ahead and take the position of these computers here, and you want to link them to the position of the null object. And what you do here is you just hold Option next to the little clock thing, and you see this little thing here with the spiral. It's called a pick whip. You just click that and you drag it over to the position of the null object. And now, wherever you move the null object, the computer will follow. As you can see there, the computer now has moved over to where I placed the null object. So wherever I adjust this null, the coordinates here, it is going to move the computer along with it because they're locked with each other. So at the beginning of this, it's going to start there. So I'll put a keyframe, and then I want it to slide in just a little bit later. And I'm going to add another keyframe here. And where I want it to eventually slide in here is, you know, about right there, because I'm going to have something else pop in. So now you can see it slides right in quite nicely, along with the null object. So really, the original object here is stationary, and the null object is what is moving the computer. So we can link this weighting animation to this as well, but we're going to do that in just a second because there's a few other things we have to do with that. I want to add an expression to the movement of this computer so it looks a little bit less stale. Right now, you'll see it kind of looks just really flat. It looks fake and kind of computery. So to give it some life, you want to make sure the blur is turned on and enabled. You click it and it turns blue. And then you want to turn the blur on this individual channel. And you'll see, I'm sorry, not on the null. You want to turn the blur on with the computer. And you'll see that now there's a little bit of blur added to it as it goes across. That will give it a little bit of life. But then to give it even more life, go to the keyframes here of the null object, and there is a very special little plugin you can get for After Effects, which I'm going to use. I'll show you this trick first. You right click on the keyframes and you can choose Keyframe Assistant and you do Easy Ease. And that will give it a lot smoother of a movement. It eases out of the beginning of the animation and then it eases into the end of the animation. And the way that's going to look now with the blur will look a lot more lifelike, I should say. I'll let this load a little bit. See that? See, it's just a lot smoother than it was before. Okay, and I'm actually going to speed it. Oops. I want that to happen a little faster. And let me move this loop over so we can see it real fast. There it goes. And there it is. It's got a nice little kind of smoother. But I want it to kind of be even a little bit more out of town. So I will highlight these keyframes, and I'll use this lovely little plugin that I have. It's under Window after you install. It's called Ease and Whiz. And there's a setting on here for the easing called back. And now that I have these two keyframes highlighted, I've chosen back. I'm going to do apply. And now what this should do is it should kind of give it like, it should move and then kind of move back. It'll like go all the way and then it will come back to center a little bit better. So you'll see how it moves here. Yep, see that? It kind of like whiplashes back or kind of rubber bands, boomerangs back. Yep, that's exactly what I'm looking for. Okay, so great. So now it's got some like actual life to it. Now the tricky part is I want to take this looped animation and I want it to be in the center of this pad here. And I want it to move with everything else. So first of all, while I'm thinking of it, I'm going to turn the blur on. I'm going to scale it down a little bit because I can see it's going to be a little big for that pad. That looks good. That's still big, but for the sake of the video, so everyone can see it, I think that's fine. Now, if I remember this correctly, what I need to do is go to position by pressing P here. And you can just, if I just press P, see how scale, I have this down here. If I press P, scale will disappear. Press S, go back to scale. But if I want to keep scale in there, then before I press P, I just want to hold Shift and press P, and then I'll have them both there. So with position here, I press the Option key, I hold it down, and then I click position. Now I have access to the pick whip, which I am going to do something very special here because I have to adjust both the X and the Y coordinates so that it will fit perfectly onto the little iPad as it moves across. So I'm not going to just pick whip to the position of the null object, but I'm going to pick whip to the X, and then I'm going to pick whip to the Y. But in order to do that, you have to first put a bracket, an open bracket, then pick whip to the X, then press comma, space, now pick whip to the Y, and then it's not showing me the full expression. Okay, there you go. And then end bracket. Out. Boom. Now it will move with everything else. And now I have an expression here. I'm going to actually move this up. Maybe it'll give me some more space, or maybe I can make this, well, whatever. I have this expression here, this first expression, which is for the X position, and the next expression is for the Y. So I want to adjust it. So I'm just going to kind of experiment around here until I fit it right here nice in the center of this iPad. So you just either press add or subtract a certain number. So I'm going to try 400 and see what that does. Oops. Okay, 400, move it to the left. I don't want that. So I want to move it to, or move it to the right. I want to move it to the left. So I'll do negative 400. Okay, that's close. How about negative 360? That's a little better. Sorry guys about this tutorial. I know it's like long and drawn out and stupid. I'm just doing this to remember myself how to do these steps in this. So it looks like maybe 320 is going to be our sweet spot. That's good. So that's the X. Now let's go down here for the Y. After that first end bracket, but before the last end bracket, we will put a let's try a positive 300. See where that gets us. Okay, that was too far. I know this is boring. Sorry. Positive 200. That's really close. We're almost there. Positive 120. Not quite. That's too high. Positive 140. Well, let's just do, I think we're just going to have to go with positive 150, guys. Positive 150. That looks good to me. Nice and centered, centered enough. And so now the whole thing will move together, and I will do the RAM preview, and we can see it for in all of its glory. Let me maximize this. And oh, here's a great keyboard shortcut. When you highlight, when you are clicked into your composition window like this, to get it to fit to the maximum size of that particular comp window, you hold down Shift and press /, and it will size itself right to the size of whatever you make this comp window. So, for example, if I make it smaller, it will stick with that. It will max it out at that. But anyways, so there it is, and I'm going to RAM preview and see what we got. Give it some time. Give it some time. There it is. That is how you do all those different things. Thanks for listening. Sorry for that being so drawn out. And if any of those things can help you, great. They all help me. Cheers.